collaboration with the Cyprus Mail, this is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Haralambous.
Coming up on this week's programme, it's the wildfire season. We've already had several conflagrations in our forests. Fortunately, they've been relatively small so far. But the penalties are very clear for people who light fires at this time of year, and they're tough.
Offenders may be fined up to 50,000 euros or can increase those up to 10 years.
It's the holiday season too, and everyone heads to the beach. The problem is we have a shortage of lifeguards. It means some beaches are not covered and are therefore unsafe. So what's the answer?
The solution is to hire lifeguards for the whole year, or for 10 months, or for 8 months.
We've been lucky so far this year in Cyprus that the few forest fires we've had have been relatively small, but there have been several of them. And of course that's a worry when we have such large forested areas which we really need to take care of here in Cyprus. So it's a pleasure to welcome to this week's programme from the Forestry Department of the government, George Constantinou. George, thank you very much. I know that your firefighters, I think, were some of them over in Greece and Rhodes and so on, helping with the fires there. They're back now, and hopefully we will have a quieter summer. But very often I do speak to the Forest Department about the carelessness of people here in Cyprus and how some of these forest fires start. So will you start by just giving us a heads up on what people should not be doing if they're out in our countryside?
Forests are a renewable natural resource and the backbone of the natural environment. Forests are playing a key role in addressing the climate crisis and mitigating its effects. Forest fires are classified as natural disasters which can have direct negative effects on the ecological balance, economy and society of a geographical area. Every year, especially during the summer, our forests and natural environment are under constant threat from fires which endanger even human lives, while at the same time causing enormous environmental disasters. In several cases, they also cause extensive material damage to private property. The current year seems to be more difficult than the previous one. Prolonged heat waves conditions have greatly increased the risk of fires, breakout and spread. And especially during these days, the public have to be very, very careful, completely avoiding actions and activities that are like to cause a fire, such as the use of tools or agricultural machinery that produce heat, sparks or flame. Within the state forest, we need to say that camping in state forests is prohibited. In the state forest, there are 3 camping sites which are managed by the Department of Forests. These are found in Platania, in Stavros Ipsokas, and in Kampitou Kalogiru, in the main road from Prodromos to Prodidousa. This is under reconstruction. Also, people have to not light fires within state forest. The only places they can do that is for cooking their meals within the picnic sites. There are all over Cyprus many picnic sites where people can go there, enjoy their days, cook their meals, and so on. Now, some advices for the people if they live nearby forests or within villages with vegetation and so on. First of all, the perimeter of the area must be clear of dry vegetation and flammable materials. We do not use flammable liquids to light the grill. Also, the grill must be supervised until it is completely extinguished. Firefighting means must be available like water supply, fire extinguishers or any other tools. The use of tools that generate sparks, such as welding and others, must be avoided. Cigarette butts or matches should be placed in ashtrays after making sure they are completely extinguished, especially not throwing cigarette ends out of the window in highways or in any other road.
We've had a lot of fires caused by exactly the sort of things you're saying people shouldn't be doing. I'm amazed, George, the number of years I've talked to people about this, that this message still doesn't seem to be being accepted by many citizens. They still do the things that you're saying we must not do.
Unfortunately, a lot of people have this, and they are throwing outside the window or when they are working in the forest or in areas with vegetation and so on. Many of the fires are due to carelessness of the people. Also, we have to say that 9 fires out of 10 are due to people either carelessness or anything else. So we have to avoid these things, any work and so on, in order not to have fires.
Now, another reason that we've had fires this year, I believe, is short circuits in the electricity systems. I believe there was one in Balekori recently where a water pump was still being fed electricity even though the owners had asked for the electricity to be cut off. So how closely are you working with the Electricity Authority of Cyprus to make sure that wherever possible there are not electrical cables? Let's face it, if there's a high wind they can get blown apart and issue sparks and off we go. It really is very important, isn't it, that we look holistically at where there are electrical cables and whether there's an alternative?
Yes, of course. We have, let's say, more or less 20 or 30 fires due to electricity during the summer. We had also the one at Balekori and the one in the state forest of Paphos. This is very dangerous, and that's why our director, the General Secretary, had a meeting with the EAC authority today in order to overcome this issue, to find some solutions in order to avoid these fires due to electricity.
I think I'm right in saying, George, that was it the minister that came up with the idea that, for example, at the forest station of Stavros της Psokas, which does require electricity because people stay there, I mean, it does have to have an electricity supply. If you can't use a generator, I think that's the temporary solution. What about solar generation of power?
Yes, that's correct. Immediately after the fire, plans are made, have started in order to put some electricity generations at Stavros της Psokas, and also some solar panels in order to have electricity using these two.
So could we not change all the electricity supplies to these outlying areas in the forests to be solar powered, so that presumably there is a much better chance that there will not be a fire?
We wish there is a way to do that. Unfortunately, on the one hand, there are so many, perhaps 1,000 kilometers of electricity cables and so on. And on the other side, it has to be a plan. It's not something which can be made in one day or 1 year.
No, but it's a little bit strange, George, to me, that this has been a threat for many years and only now are we suddenly saying we need to do this. If we make a plan, how quickly could it be implemented so that this risk is completely diminished?
Actually, the Department of Forests has sent several letters to the electricity authorities and other authorities and so on, stating that some fires, a lot of fires, let's say, due to cables. Unfortunately, nothing has happened until now, during the last days, due to these conditions.
So we're waiting yet again for action from the Electricity Authority. We could be waiting a very long time, couldn't we? Tell me one other thing that's concerned me with the recent fires we've had, and that, George, is the use of fireworks. It's illegal unless you have a permit. I think most of us know that. And yet pretty well every wedding that goes on lets off fireworks, and one started a fire that was quite serious, I think near Lawful, was it, a few weeks ago?
Exactly.
What can be done about that? Because it seems that the authorities are not checking whether or not every single wedding reception has a licence if they plan to let off fireworks.
Unfortunately, it's not only weddings, birthdays, or whatever, engagements or name days and so on. Most of the people used to throw these fireworks, to use these fireworks. This is actually illegal. In order for somebody to use fireworks, has to apply for a certification to allow him, let's say, to use them.
Sorry, George, let me interrupt. That's been the law for many years now, and yet it is not enforced, which must be very depressing for you foresters when you see trees going up in smoke because the authorities who should be checking these things are not checking them, and people are willy-nilly chucking fireworks up into the air. We have a law that says we can't burn stubble in the summer months, I believe, yes? So why does that law not stretch to you will not let off a firecracker or a firework between June and October?
Actually, this law can be enforced by the police. Unfortunately, police cannot do all these checks and so on. From the other hand, we have to say about the forest law, which indicates lighting a fire within state forest or at a distance of 2 kilometers from edges is strictly prohibited. Offenders may be fined up to 50,000 euros or and in prison up to 10 years.
Are you going to press, as the Forestry Department, for the people whose weddings were responsible for some of these fires to face the full force of the law and that 50,000 euro fine and or imprisonment? Because unless somebody goes to jail for this, people will just carry on doing it.
Yes, if we have somebody to state that I saw somebody throwing and so on, and if these fireworks are within the state forest or in a distance of 2 kilometers, of course we are going to find him.
But are you telling me that you have no authority whatsoever and it's purely down to the police if the fire starts outside a state forest? It still burns trees.
Actually, the forest law is only for the state forest, lighting a fire within the state forest or in a distance of 2 kilometers from the edges. We cannot do anything, let's say, in the capital city of Nicosia, in Larnaca, and so on.
So it's time for us to get on to our members of parliament because they need to adjust the law, it would seem to me. A fire, wherever it occurs, has the possibility of starting a huge conflagration. It might start just outside Nicosia. It can spread for miles, can't it?
Yes. There are also other laws for rural, within rural areas and so on, which is also prohibited to light a fire within these rural areas.
We'll keep our fingers crossed, George, that for the rest of the summer during this fire season, we have no more mishaps and no more fires. Certainly we're lucky, as I said at the beginning, that this year so far we haven't seen a conflagration like, for example, the Solea fire a few years ago, which was absolutely devastating. Many thanks for joining me. Good luck in the Forestry Department.
I would like to say something closing. Anyone who notices any smoke or fire, he can immediately call the number 1407, the Department of Forest, or 112. to the fire service.
1407 and 112.
Yes, that's correct.
George Constantino from the Department of Forests. Many thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much.
In collaboration with the Cyprus Mail, this is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Haralambous.
The biggest achievement of Crime Stoppers has been the ability of the public to be able to give information about crime anonymously.
There's no way I could have kept prostituting without the drugs. There's no way I could have had my body used like a public toilet, because that's actually what prostitution is.
And then the fourth series I started 3 days after I'd won the Oscar, so the whole of the Monarch of the Glen experience was all interplatted with the Gosford Park Oscar experience.
I was working with Ronnie James Dio, and David was going to reform Whitesnake in 2003.
Cyprus was chosen because Cyprus is a stable, peaceful and secure place.
We have to really look closely. What are we doing with children? What are we doing with adolescents? And what are we doing with adults that can help them move into a more literate situation?
The ones that I'm proudest of are the ones that were true discoveries, where we found something we didn't know existed.
At this time of year, it's hardly surprising that much of Cyprus heads to the coast. We have beautiful beaches and lovely warm water. But do we have enough lifeguards? Apparently not. Earlier this week, the labour union BEO said there were not nearly enough lifeguards to cover the beachgoers and that it was an immediate danger. So I've asked the president of the Lifeguards Association to join me to tell us what's the problem and indeed how it can be solved. He is Bolis Balikaros and he joins us now. Bolis, we spoke about this, 6 or 7 years ago, I think, and there weren't enough lifeguards then. So how come the problem has still not been solved when we are, let's face it, an island endowed with beautiful beaches and tourism is one of our main sources of income?
Yes, you're completely right. We speak about this matter the last 20 years. The things are going better the last 3-4 years, but we have to do things and reach a reasonable point that we can say that the beaches are now safe. We are not at this point at the moment. And what I'm saying, what I'm telling about is that we increase the positions to hire lifeguards, but they cannot find the lifeguards to be hired. And that's mainly because they offer a job for 3 months. And you understand that for any person to go to work for 3 months for a year is not good.
How can that be solved? Because it is...
You and I offer you a job for 3 months, it's possible to say, yes, okay, I accept that job.
Yeah, but Bolis, what can we do to change that? I mean, is there a way of hiring lifeguards all year round? In the winter months, most of the beaches probably are not used.
That's the solution. The solution is to hire lifeguards for the whole year, or for 10 months, or for 8 months. We have a beautiful island, we have very good beaches, we have sun at least 8 months per year. We want to increase the tourists in Cyprus. We want to increase the months that the tourists come to Cyprus, and we must give them safety.
Right, but let's talk about now. As I said at the beginning, it's the holiday season and, well, certainly Nicosia pretty well shuts down as everybody goes to the coast to enjoy the beaches and the swimming. And I believe that there are lots of popular beaches that don't have any lifeguards at all.
Correct. That's correct also. And that's not the only problem. We have another problem that is serious. The other problem is that we open the beach, meaning we have lifeguards on the beach, from 10 o'clock or 10:30 to 6 o'clock or 6:30. That's completely wrong. We have to put the lifeguards there to take work from the morning 7 o'clock up to the evening 7:30.
Yeah, especially since I guess people who see a lifeguard there around midday think this is a safe beach, and if they go for an early morning or late evening swim, well, it isn't, is it?
Yeah. Because we said to the people, go to the beach, don't go to the beach from 12 until 4 because of the sun, because of sunstroke, heat stroke, and so and so. So we have to cover the beach with lifeguards from the morning until the night.
Now, if the relevant ministry came back to you and said, OK, we agree, we need to put lifeguards on all our major beaches from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m, do you have enough lifeguards to man those beaches?
Okay, to do that, immediately now, tomorrow, they have to give overtime to the lifeguards. This is not the correct solution, but they can give the solution until they found the lifeguards to be hired. So the solution for tomorrow is to give overtime to the lifeguards. I'm telling again, this is not the correct solution.
Yeah, if lifeguards are overworked because they're working much longer hours than they should be, can they still do the job to the required standard?
No. Imagine for a man or a woman to stand at the beach for 10 hours or 11 hours. This is, they cannot do their best.
Okay, let me put this to you.
We have a solution for tomorrow and for the next days until they find lifeguards to cover the beaches.
Why is there not a call for more people, especially considering we have reasonably high unemployment here? Why can't people who are on the unemployment list be trained up? How long does it take to train a lifeguard?
Okay, this is not a question for me, the first part. The second part, for someone to be trained, it's about 15 days, but 15 days, full days.
But you have the people who can do this training?
Of course, in every city there are people that can do that.
It seems extraordinary to me. Why aren't we using these unemployed people or even people who have applied for refugee or asylum status? Could they not fill some of these gaps temporarily?
The best solution is to have a permanent job for lifeguards.
Yes, but that's not. But Polis, just a minute. That's not going to happen, is it? At the moment, that's not going to happen. But for the immediate necessity of this summer, 15 days means that at least for the next 3 months after they've trained, the beaches would be safe.
Yes, you can say that. But let's see numbers. In Amorphostos, we have 40 permanent lifeguards. In Paphos, we have 3 permanent lifeguards. In Larnaca, we have 3 permanent lifeguards. In Paphos, we are looking every year to hire 100 lifeguards, and we have only 3. So it's not easy to find 97 people for the summer. And let's combine that with another thing, that in Paphos and Larnaca we have 3 beaches that are open in the winter. So they need at least 13 permanent lifeguards.
What's the solution?
The immediate solution is to give overtime to the lifeguards to cover the hours. The other solution is to train people to start working. Let me say that tomorrow I will be in the beaches of Nicosia. I mean Pyrgos and Pygenia. There are beaches of the territory of Nicosia. There we train people to minimize the problem. We have done that last year and we are going to do that this year.
It doesn't seem to me that there's any, if you like, joined up thinking about this. If I remember correctly, the last time we spoke, you told me that the provision of lifeguards was not a central thing, but was down to each district administration. Is that still the case?
Correct, yes. Correct. So the district for Nicosia, they decided to train people. They found people and we trained them. We trained them, I mean the Nicosia Lifeguard Association. And the federation were going there to examine them and to give them the diploma if they can do the job.
And can these lifeguards then work in other areas where the district administration is not being so proactive?
In Amohostos, we started this job 6 months ago. We train with the Amohostos Lifeguard Association. We examine them, and we are in a good position in Amohostos.
So it's Paphos and Larnaca that are the problems?
And Limassol. And Amohostos, but the smaller one.
Well, let's hope that there aren't any incidents in those areas in the coming holiday period, Bolis. And do keep us informed about whether or not there is going to be some change to this, because it seems extraordinary to me that we project Cyprus as the perfect holiday destination, and then it's perhaps not safe for people to go swimming here.
I could not say that it's not safe. I say that we can improve the safeness in the beaches. We have lifeguards. We have it in many places. We want to put lifeguards every place is needed. We want to extend the times the lifeguards work. And the third thing, we need mechanical rescue equipment, jet skis.
Yeah, so you can get there faster.
These are the three major things that we say. I'm telling you again, there are improvements, but the improvements we are not reaching the ideal with that. We need more. In Gurio, we saved the man with heart attack 7:30 in the morning. Lifeguards was there. In another beach, 15 days ago, a man died 9:45 on the beach. Not in the water, on the beach. 9:45. Lifeguards there take work 10:30 in the morning. So how much we say that a life cost?
Yeah, it's definitely a too high a price to pay. Bolis, thanks for joining me. That is Bolis Balikaros from the Lifeguards Association.
Thank you very much.
In response to the claims of the lifeguard shortages, the Interior Ministry midweek issued an announcement saying that they were aware of the problem, that an issue does exist, but that it is working to solve these problems. They went on that the hiring process for more permanent lifeguard staff is underway. They're focusing on the Famagusta district, but they said that lifeguard coverage had also been extended in terms of the hours worked on beaches in the Larnaca, Famagusta and Limassol districts. 2 hours extra per day, and they also added that 45 lifeguard towers had been erected during 2022.
Listen online to the Cyprus News Digest on YouTube or at cyprusmail.libsyn.com. The latest program is uploaded every Friday, and if you missed one, you can catch up there.
And in other news this week, private hospitals are putting our national health scheme in jeopardy. They say they will not renew their contract with the health insurance organisation unless there is agreement on the remuneration they will receive. It seems that public hospitals get more help because the state aid they were granted when the scheme was set up has now been extended. The HIO has told private hospitals they must immediately sign a new contract before an agreement has been reached with the private hospitals about the remuneration for particular types of treatment. The fear is that if the agreement is not signed as demanded by the 1st of September, some of the private hospitals currently in the National Health Scheme will pull out, leaving the rest of the system under a great deal of stress. Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.